You know, sometimes there's just nothing better than a good classic brownie fresh from your oven. But then there are days when you want to take it up a notch. Rich caramel, crunchy pecans, and gooiness that makes everyone ask for the recipe. Today I'm sharing my best brownie recipe with a caramel turtle twist. Simple to make, big on flavor, and perfect for potlucks, family picnics, or just because you deserve something special. This is Nancy's Homestyle Kitchen, where I show you how to cook real food that feels like home with simple steps, affordable ingredients, and no pressure to be perfect. This recipe was shared with me years ago at an office potluck. They were gone within minutes. People were sneaking back for seconds before the lunch line even formed. Ever since, this has been my go-to recipe when I want brownies that really stand out. Stick around until the end because I'll share an easy twist that you can add that gives these brownies a whole new decadent flavor your guests will love. Let's review the ingredients. You're going to need 1 Duncan Hines Devil's Food Cake Mix. Make sure there's no pudding in it. 3/4 cup of butter melted. You're gonna need 1 can of evaporated milk, and we're gonna use this in 2 separate instances. 12 ounces of chocolate chips. I buy my chocolate chips in bulk, so I weighed them out. 1 cup of chopped pecans toasted. So what I did is I just threw these on a cookie sheet and threw them in the oven while the oven was preheating, so I can toast them while that process is happening. And the last thing you're gonna need is Kraft Caramel Bits. If you can't find the caramel bits, you could get the bag of the Kraft caramels in the squares, but then you're gonna have to unwrap each one. But either of them completely work for this recipe. So let's get started. So again, the oven is preheating to 350, and you wanna take a 9x13 pan and line it with foil. I sprayed nonstick cooking spray over the foil and then put some flour in it to make sure that we're getting it as nonstick as possible because the caramel really does tend to get sticky. And then you want to make sure your foil extends over the edge of the pan because we're going to use this to help lift the brownies out of the dish after they're done baking. So let me set that to the side. And I have my cake mix in the bowl. And to that, we're going to add the 1.5 sticks of butter that I melted. So that's equivalent to 3/4 cup. I'm just going to pour that in there. And then from the can of evaporated milk, we are going to put 1/3 cup of evaporated milk into this mixture. All right, then just you can do this by hand. I'm just gonna do this with a hand mixer to save time, but we're just gonna mix this up and we'll go on with the next step. And mix it about for a minute and then scrape down the sides and the bottom because we want to make sure we get all of the dry cake mix off the bottom of the bowl. And it looks like it's actually pretty well incorporated, but I'm going to give it another quick mix. And as you can see, this is really thick. I was surprised there's no eggs in this recipe too. I'm used to always adding eggs to cake mix or brownies, but not in this recipe at all. So grab your baking dish that you lined with the foil, and we are going to put half of this mixture in the bottom of the pan. So kind of spread it out and eyeball that. And I mean, you can see how thick this is. So it's going to be kind of hard to spread, but what we want to do is put half of this in the bottom of the dish and get as even as a layer as we possibly can. It's funny, the butter in here makes this batter really slippery. Look, it like barely even sticks to the spatula. Okay, this part is a little tricky because you've kind of coated the bottom of your dish with nonstick spray, and now you're wanting this to stick to it, so go figure. Just try to spread it out as much as you can. It kind of actually feels like warm fudge. when you're putting it in the pan before it starts setting up. That's exactly what it reminds me of. Okay, nothing's left on the spatula. I'm gonna pop this in the oven for 8 minutes, and while this bakes, we're gonna get the caramel sauce ready. I just pulled the bottom layer of the brownies out of the oven. During that 8 minutes of cooking time, I was able to melt the caramel bits in with the other 1/3 cup of evaporated milk. So to the rest of the cake batter that we mixed up for this layer, we're gonna add the 1 cup of toasted pecans. And get all those little bits in there because the toasty nuts are great on flavor. Okay. Go ahead and get this all incorporated into the remaining cake batter. Okay, that's all incorporated. So the next thing we need to do is we're gonna take our 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips and we're gonna pour that over the bottom layer. Kind of move them around as evenly as you can. Now it's melting already. And then here is the beautiful caramel sauce that we made. I just cooked that on a medium-low heat and just keep stirring. At first, it seems like the caramel is really gonna seize up, but it doesn't. As soon as it starts melting, I'm gonna switch to my other hand so you guys can see this. As soon as it really starts melting, it loosens up really quick and it's easy to melt. Caramel smells so good. And I'm going to try to spread this caramel over that layer of chocolate chips as best as I can. And the heat from the bottom layer of the brownies is already melting the chocolate, and then you put that hot caramel on top, and those chocolate chips are on their way to just being fully melted. There's more chocolate chips in the bottom of the thing. We can't let that go to waste. Let's just sprinkle them on top. Okay, then here is our top layer of brownie batter. So I'm just gonna take it by little spoonfuls and drop it all over the top. You're not gonna be able to spread this at all. So just take your time and just do little dabs of batter all over the top. It doesn't have to completely cover it, so don't worry about it. It's gonna spread out a little bit as it bakes. And then also you're gonna have some little pieces of caramel and chocolate poking through, which creates that interest when someone sees your tray of brownies and they don't look like ordinary brownies. So I'll finish this and I'll be right back. All right, that took just a minute or so. Just be patient with it and just get them as evenly covered as you can. And as you can see, I have caramel showing through, not a problem at all. So all we're gonna do now is the last part, and that's bake it for 18 minutes. So I'll get that in the oven, and when we come back, we're gonna have the best caramel turtle brownies you've ever had. Now for the worst part. We have to let these cool completely. Okay, these have cooled, and I cheated. I put them in the freezer for a little bit because they weren't cooling fast enough. So let's take them out of the glass dish with the foil that we lined. Lifts right out. Okay, and then we want to peel back the foil. Perfect. Okay, so here are the caramel turtle brownies. And let's cut into it. You guys, these are good. I think they're kind of rich, so a little goes a long way for me. But you can see there's caramel right here. We have the nuts, the chocolate. There is a layer in there. You could probably see it more once we get it split open, but there's definitely layers, and let's give it a try. Besides it being chocolatey, first thing I notice is the toasted pecans. You always have to toast the nuts. That just really makes them stand out and be more present instead of just a crunchy element in your dish. And the caramel has kind of absorbed a little bit into the brownie, and you can see kind of more of the caramel up top here. Let me show you. You can see it here. You can also see it around the side. So it doesn't give you just one layer of chocolate, one layer of caramel. It kind of mixes around and makes it fun. Here's that twist that I promised earlier. After pouring on the gooey caramel, top it with 2 cups of toasted coconut flakes. This simple addition gives the German chocolate cake vibe, and it's absolutely irresistible. If you're bringing these to a picnic or potluck, just keep them chilled in a cooler or fridge until you're ready to serve. And here's my favorite part. Let them sit out in the sun just a bit before you serve it. That caramel gets even gooier, and it's absolute heaven. These brownies are really meant to be shared, but don't be surprised if they disappear before you get one. If you got some value or inspiration from this, hit that like button and consider subscribing. It helps me keep bringing you more of these really easy home-style recipes every week. Well, that's all for today. No matter where you are in your cooking journey, I'm just so thankful you're here. See you next week with another comforting, homemade favorite from my kitchen.